Hello again. When we discuss the Canaanites, we spend a great deal of time talking about Baal and Ashtoreth. And what I have here are looking at some different variations among the different cultures of Ishtar, Diana, Iana, Ashtoreth. They're all the same person or same goddess. And so here we see the Sumerian version. She's squatted down in a position, holding her arms under her breast, almost in a birthing position, a goddess of fertility that you see there. We've discussed earlier the Canaanite version of her. This is an actual artifact of that. And here is a replica of the Syrian version. And if you notice, she's very different, has sort of a bird-like look to her. And again, holding her arms across under her chest there. And they worshiped in very different ways, but always a goddess of fertility. And then we have the Greek version. And this is a replica of what the Temple of Artemis may have looked like. And we only know it from ruins from a few pedestals that have been discovered at Ephesus. But great is Diana of the Ephesians, as in Acts is quoted there when Paul, there in the city in the uproar, and or Diana in some translations, that is the Latin form. And we see her here, and she is a lot different looking in the Greek version. Now, there are Greek versions of her as a huntress with a bow. She's also the fertility goddess. And we see that these people worship these things in this manner. Now, the temple at Artemis there at Ephesus was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. It was 1/3 larger than the temple on the Acropolis, the Parthenon, attributed to Athena. And so if you've been there to Athens and you've seen that, this temple is rather large. The columns that went up are very huge. And these structures, I just wanted to point out that inside would have had walls inside there. And temples in the ancient world functioned as banks. People deposited money there. It was felt that no one would rob money from a god or goddess. And if you look at many of our banks, especially back in the East Coast, they look like the front of some of the Greek temples. Greek temples were different than Roman temples in construction and also in design. Greek temples, and this shows you something about Greek thought, were accessible from all sides, where a Roman temple would only be accessible from the front. And that's a very Roman ideal of thinking, one way in, one way out. They called their exits vomitoriums, and they liked control, and they felt that sense gave them that. Now, looking at this, you can see the different variations in which the cultures, they had the Ashtoreth poles, the Canaanites did, the groves that were associated with her. The Greeks put olive trees, sacred olive groves around their temples, and we talked about that earlier. Now, moving over, there's another artifact here that we want to discuss, and there have been found several of different ones of these, and this is Babylonian, and it's within the first part of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, and this tablet is front and back. The original is at the British Museum in London, and this discusses the capture of Jerusalem. So as a fact of history, as we move forward in history, more things are more in keeping with the biblical account because of the integration of cultures and language more. And not that the Israelites borrowed from other cultures, but there are more archaeological evidences that are found. In the ancient world, remember, kings did not like to discuss their defeats in battle. So sometimes ancient artifacts, when they're found, conflict with biblical accounts. And because the Bible freely tells when the Israelites are defeated in battle and when they are victorious. Then moving over into this is a large stele, and this is a small reconstruction of that. And this is Egyptian from 1208 BC, and it's called the Monette Steely of the victory of the ancient Egyptian Pharaoh Monette. And in this stele on line 27, what makes this interesting, it's also called the Israel stele. And what makes this interesting is on that line 27, the nation of Israel is referred to by name. Israel's seed is no more, he claims, in stating that. He had defeated some Philistine garrisons along that area and then made that statement on this stele. He talks about his accomplishments as Pharaoh here.